If you're thinking about buying a house, I'm about to save you $1,200. There are many things to look for during your search, and in this video, we'll show you some of those things, and we're actually going to take you out and show you a home inspector doing his job and telling you what he looks for as well. If you're going to finance your home with a government-backed loan like a VA, FHA, or RD loan, the home's going to need to be in pretty good shape. Knowing what to look for can save you a ton of money, and here's why. Once you find a house that you like and you make an offer on it and the seller accepts your offer, then it's time to do your due diligence, which includes an inspection, and if you are getting financing, they'll send an appraiser out there, and that's where the money comes in. An inspection nowadays on an average house is probably going to be about $400, and an appraisal is from about $700 or $800, and it can even be more depending on the type of loan and the appraiser and all of that. So let's say $1,200 for both of them. And if something comes up during these inspections, the seller does not have to fix anything. It's totally up to them, and they may have reasons that they're not going to do it. Maybe there's another offer, maybe they don't have the money, who knows? But you have to pay for the inspection and the appraisal, which can be upwards of $1,200 like we said earlier. So you just want to make sure that if there's any big things, that the owners be willing to fix these things before you make an offer, otherwise you'll be out all that money. Let's look at a couple things that you can look for before you even get to that point and end up spending a bunch of money that you don't need to. So let's start on the outside of the house, and the big thing that we see most of the time is roof issues, and it usually comes down to the age of the shingles. So take a good look at the roof, walk all the way around the house, make sure everything looks okay, and if there's snow on it, obviously, then you're going to have to scrape some off or look at some pictures from the summertime, and hopefully that will tell you the shape that the roof is in. And if there's no gutters on the roof, that can also be a problem with the drainage around the house. As you can see right here, this house does not have gutters, so all the water in this ice, when it melts every spring, over the years it keeps filling up this spot with water and it's settled, and so now they're going to have negative drainage towards the house, and this is something that an appraiser is going to call out that will need to be fixed. So just one of the things to keep in mind when you're looking at the roof, but mainly it's about the age of the roof and the condition of the shingles. I've seen a lot of deals fall apart because of roof issues, because the roof is a pretty major expense to be reshingled or fixed or whatever needs to be done, and some people just can't afford to do that before closing, and you just need to keep that in mind before you make your offer. The next thing you want to look out outside is the siding, and to make sure there aren't any holes or it's all connected, or there aren't any, if it's vinyl siding, I've seen pieces of siding missing. For a VA loan one time, I had an appraiser come out and call out there was a woodpecker hole that had to be fixed. So once again, just another quick thing to look at as you're walking around the outside of the house. So now when we get inside the house, the big thing to look at is the flooring. And the flooring needs to be fully installed. And what I mean by that is some people have added on a room or not finished a room or whatever they did, ripped out the carpet and they just left it. Well, an appraiser is going to call out the fact that there's no floor covering, and once again, that's going to need to be fixed, and something that you can see easily when you're just walking around the house before you make an offer. Another thing to look for in the house is to make sure there's railings on all the staircases. Any kind of safety issue with railings, or if there's a banister or a loft or something, and if a railing's missing, that will definitely be called out. And again, another thing that will have to be fixed before you get to closing. A lot of homes up here have crawl spaces, and it's one thing you should try and take a look at if you're looking at the house and you're interested in the house. And one of the things you'll see is the vapor barrier, and that's in here to keep the moisture from the ground from coming up and causing mold. Now the inspector is going to find mold once you get to that point, so that's not something you should be looking for. But if you see there's a big areas of the vapor barrier that are pulled apart or missing altogether, that's something to just keep in the back of your head that may have caused problems over the years. Some houses it's just fine, other houses, you know, there will be mold because of that. So a lot of houses too down in the crawl space have all the utilities down there, especially if it's a smaller house. They're down there to get out of the way. So you may want to check out the furnace and the water heaters and any other type of utilities that might be down there. Soft water tanks, anything like that, take a look at. Just make sure all the appliances down there look okay to you. Again, the inspector is going to take a much closer look at this, but if you see the furnace is super old or water heater's leaking, something like that, that's something you can note before you make an offer. So if everything else looks okay to you and you do get to the point of hiring an inspector, here's some of the things he's going to look for. So an inspector is going to get into way more areas than you can. He's going to go up into the attic, check the insulation up there, check for any kind of mold, any kind of holes in the roofing, anything like that, leaks. They're also going to check the electrical system of the house. They're going to check the breaker boxes, make sure it's all hooked up properly, up to code, see if there's any loose wires, make sure everything's labeled. They're also going to test all the outlets to make sure they're all working properly. And then after that, they'll look at the heating system. This particular inspector has this infrared gun that goes around, and he can check each individual heat register, and it'll give you the actual temperature of the heat coming out. This will also show when they do the ceiling if the insulation's bad. It's a handy tool, and most inspectors have this. They'll also check any kind of fireplaces, and in this particular house, they had a gas fireplace that he was checking to make sure everything was hooked up properly and would ignite properly. After that, they start going through all the plumbing and looking under all the sinks and checking for leaks, and they'll turn on all of the showers and every water faucet that's in the house they'll run. And then down in the crawl space, when they were down there, they had all the faucets on so they could see if anything was leaking underneath the house. They'll also run the dishwasher, make sure it's not leaking and running properly. They run all the appliances and they just check everything. And like I said earlier, they'll turn on all the faucets and just make sure all the plumbing is up to par. So the last thing they do before they leave the house is they'll set up a radon test. And this is elective. You don't have to do this, but I would highly recommend it here in Montana. And this test will sit here for 3 days. They put it away from windows and doors and they don't want a lot of air movement on it. And after 3 days, they retrieve it and you'll know if you have a radon problem or not. I hope this helps with your search, and please let us know if you have any other questions.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call, text, or email for more information. And don't forget to watch our other videos about Montana.